Hello, everybody.
Off mute so that I'd be able to hear you. That little red microphone with the slash through it. You need to tap that. All right, gentlemen, this is file 2400487SC. It's a small claims case. Both parties are present. Gentlemen, what small claims means is you are asking for this case to be decided by me instead of having any kind of a jury trial. You're also asking to do this in small claims, meaning no one is going to have an attorney present. So first things first, if you are both ready to proceed here in small claims, giving up your right to jury trial and to attorney, then the first thing I'm going to do is swear you both in. Mr. Purra, I cannot see you. I would ask you to raise your right hand the same way Mr. Radloff's going to raise his right hand. You swear or affirm any testimony that you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
All right. So, few questions. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I don't really have too much information here. Was this a landlord tenant or did you guys live together?
He lived with my daughter.
Okay. Who owned that place?
I do.
So you were the landlord.
I
He
was
was
a
the
landlord.
tenant.
I
All
was a
right.
landlord.
Did you go to landlord tenant court at all?
No.
All right. So he no longer lives there, correct?
Right.
Did you have a lease?
No.
So when you say that Mr. Purra was supposed to be paying rent every month, that was just an agreement that you had.
It was an agreement between him and my daughter. They were going to pay the rent every month.
And how much was the rent?
The rent was $530 a month.
Okay, and why does he owe it instead of your daughter?
Plus utilities.
Why does he owe it instead of him and your daughter?
He only owes 1/3 of it. If
Okay,
you look at the amount, because my grandson lives here also. So I divided it up into 3 equal payments. So he only owes for 1/3 of the stuff.
all right. So between gas, electric, and rent, it was $780 a month. But you're only charging him 1/3 of that, right?
Yes, sir.
So about $260 a month. And you said about 13 months, and that's how you get the number 3,380.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Purra, do you agree with that you were supposed to be paying 1/3 of the rent utilities while you lived there?
Sir, I was giving Shauna Radloff, his daughter, $600 a month total to stay there, to help out with the bills. When none of the bills were getting turned off, the utilities weren't shut off, the eviction notices never came. You assume people are paying things like they're supposed to be paying.
All right. So listen to me.
He wasn't
How
giving
that works, Mr. Purra, is you could turn around and sue her, but if you're telling me, oh, I paid this money, I just paid it to the wrong person, that's not really going to count as a defense. Do you understand that?
Well, she went around this town, sir, to her friends talking about how $600 a month from George Purra Jr. wasn't enough money, that I should have been paying more.
Okay.
I mean, I have people who wrote letters.
Listen to me. Was she
Yeah.
your girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
So she didn't own the place, right? Her dad did.
As far as I knew, she owned it. As far as I knew,
Okay.
sir, everything was in her name, everything. And in all actuality, nothing is in her name. It's all in her father's name.
All right, so here's my question. Either one of you can answer it. Who was paying the mortgage on that place?
Sir, I was paying the mortgage on it, and I was paying all the utilities and stuff on it, and the lot
right.
rent.
So what Mr. Purra is saying is, I paid money, I gave it to your daughter, and your daughter just never gave it to you.
And he knows that, Your Honor. I told him that several times during the relationship.
All right, Mr. Purra, let me just talk to him. So here's the problem. If he's telling me he's paying your daughter, and your daughter's just not using that money for rent and utilities, then there's a problem. Your problem's with your daughter, not Mr. Purra.
Well, he was also living here, but that's not the only problem, is because he used one of my vehicles, if you notice, for the whole time he was here. He was.
And did you have an agreement he was supposed to pay you to do that?
He was going to buy it from me. That's why I let him use it. But
Okay,
I
did
paid.
you have that in writing?
No, I did not.
Because
I
you
don't
cannot
have
sue
any-
for wear and tear on your truck.
I'm from the old school, sir. I figure a handshake is
Here's
good.
my question. Was anybody between your daughter, Mr. Para, and did you say your son?
Grandson.
The other, who is grandson? Was anybody paying you money every month?
I was, and Hayden was.
Nobody was paying me nothing. I was paying
All right.
all the bills.
You were paying the bills, but they were
Yes.
supposed to be paying you.
Yes.
Did you sue your daughter?
Yes.
Did that work?
Did it work? She said that she wasn't getting any money from him, and she wasn't
No.
working at the time.
You're suing Mr. Para. Did you sue
Yes.
your daughter for the money as well that she owed you?
No, because I'm working.
No, I don't sue family.
Did you sue your grandson?
Yes, I see my grandson all the time.
Suing.
Did
But he
you
wasn't
sue
working.
your grandson?
No.
So why are you only suing Mr. Para if all of them owed you money and none of them were paying you any money?
Because we're working.
The main reason I'm suing him is because of the deal with the truck and how
Who
the
has
truck
the
was
truck
returned
now?
to him. I have the truck now, but it does not run.
Okay, so he was gonna buy a truck off you that doesn't work?
No, it worked when you got it.
He drove it for over a year, and give it
Okay,
back to
sir,
me because
you are
he
the
didn't take care of
plaintiff.
it.
You are the plaintiff, so whoever is there in the background chirping in your ear needs to stop talking, okay? All right, so your truck, what was the agreement with the truck? Tell me.
It was agreement. I sold it to him for $2,000,
They didn't
and
pay you any of that.
none of it
Why'd you let him keep using it if he didn't pay you?
because he was living with my daughter at the time.
All right, here's the problem. This is what I don't want to have happen. You can't be, oh, well, because it was essentially my, future son-in-law, I just kind of let him do this stuff. And now I bet you if I had to guess, your daughter and him are no longer together.
They're
Right.
no longer together.
And now you want to turn around and sue him for all the money that you think he should have paid you. But before, when he didn't pay you, you were just letting him live there and letting him use the truck, right?
No, sir. That's not the only thing. He borrowed $500 to pay back taxes, which he told me when he got his tax return he would give to me, which he
All
didn't
right, that
do.
one's easy. Mr. Para, do you recall that?
Mr. Para, sir, I remember his daughter borrowing the money from him under those pretenses. Yes.
What was the money used for?
Food, and I'm sure probably marijuana in there as well.
And then you were gonna pay it back,
Yes, sir.
and you didn't pay it back.
I did not.
So you agree you owe that money to him?
I didn't borrow it. She borrowed it from him, but yes, I guess if you want to be real about it, yeah. And the $100, I definitely owe him the $100.
What's the $100? Oh, the loan on the crossbow.
Yes, sir.
All right, so essentially, here's what I want to get to. Here's what I don't want to have happen. You're allowed to, everybody just living there, nobody's paying rent, and then you guys break up, and now he wants to sue you for the rent, but he's not going to sue his own blood, he just wants to sue you. I don't really agree with that, especially if you're telling me you were paying towards that, you just don't know what she was doing with the money, all right? But here's the problem. Essentially, you're getting stuff because you are with his daughter, you're getting money and you're getting help from him that you guys aren't paying back. Now the relationship's over and we have to decide what's really fair for you to pay this man back. You understand some of this stuff that is happening, you do owe him money for room and board, essentially rent, loan for crossbow, loan for just giving you cash that you're going to pay back. What's the situation with the car? Was it your understanding you're going to buy this truck off him?
That was the intention, but when me and his daughter split up with the criminal charges that she had brought against her in the probation, they just kept harassing me for money. If they would have just been able to wait another 2, 3, 4 days, maybe at the most, I would have had all of the money for him. But then again, I didn't want to have to deal with everything that I've been dealing with because of the breakup.
Hey guys, I just want to point this out. They broke up. She's single. She's available.
So
All
just
right.
to be done with it all.
Listen to me. Just listen to my questions here, Mr. Pear. Who got in criminal trouble, you or her?
Her, she battered me.
What was the charges?
Well, it got pled down to some other minor stuff where she got on probation for a year, anger management type of classes.
All right, we call that domestic violence. But what was the charge that she got charged in court with?
I'm
The
not
original
sure.
charge.
Maybe it's, was using a weapon, something about deadly force or something like that. Initially, her initial charges.
So if I had to guess, she got charged with felonious assault, but she pled it down to domestic violence.
Yeah, and that was her third offense of domestic violence. It should have been, but
so the problem is when that happens, you're not allowed to live together anymore.
Correct.
All right.
It was over. It was over after that.
How long were you using this truck for?
In maybe August, September of 2023, and I drove his truck he insisted that I drive it because my truck was a 2-wheel drive pickup truck. I need a 4-wheel drive. When I sold him my truck, I tried to give him half of the money that I got for the truck. He said, no, don't worry about it.
Okay,
he told me
listen to my question. How long were you driving his truck around?
About 4 months, and not just myself. His daughter was driving it as well.
Who was paying the insurance on it?
Imagine her father. It's his truck.
All right. And you were going to buy it for how much money?
$2,000.
All right. And then it stopped working?
No, sir. When I gave it to him, listen, I got video proof. When I gave it to him in his driveway, I drove it to his house. Everything was running. The doors were open. All the interior was exposed. I got video of a 360-degree view of the truck. No, I'm sorry.
All right, sir. Did you send that in?
No, I didn't know I needed to send anything in. I didn't even know today I couldn't come to the courthouse because I have notes from her friends that all say I was paying her money, that she told them that. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, listen to me. A lot of this stuff, I understand why we're here about. But what Mr. Radloff needs to understand is, especially because the charges were against her and not Mr. Para, there's very little chance of essentially me saying, oh, well, the victim of the domestic violence is the one who's got to cover the rent for the whole time they were living there without paying you. Especially if what Mr. Para is telling me under oath is he was giving her money, she just wasn't giving it to you. All right. Yeah. Now, we have some things that are pretty clear. Oh, you loaned them cash. Well, I'm not even concerned whether, Mr. Para, I'm talking to you. I'm not even concerned whether that $500 went to her or went to you. It went to expenses you both had together. So you both are supposed to pay that money back, either one of you, either her or you. It's called joint and several liability. All right. And then essentially you're being up front and saying, well, and of course, I think I owe him the $100 because he loaned you some money to get a crossbow. Essentially, what we have to work out here is what's fair for use of the truck, because wear and tear on the truck is a thing. But essentially, he has a truck. He's letting you use it under the understanding that you're going to buy it from him. Now, things happen. I get that. But you're not buying it from him. So what is fair use for you driving it around? I'd like to hear your opinion on that, Mr. Para. What do you think is a fair number for a dollar amount for the time essentially you're using the truck like it's yours when really it's his?
Right. Like, I don't know. I don't even have any idea.
Now be careful, Mr. Para, because I'm judging your credibility on this answer.
That's why I was about to say I have no idea for a credible answer, because I live approximately 14 miles to work, and really, all realistically, that's as far as I would go, and maybe 25 miles to my parents to help them out in the car or at the farm. Any work that needed to be done to tune up the oil changes, I did all that.
But you weren't paying to register it or paying the insurance, right? He was covering that.
Correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you want to split all that up by a quarter, that would be, I think, would be a fair and reasonable
why are you saying a quarter? I don't. Oh, just mean because 4 months.
I only had it 4 months. I only had it for 4 months, realistically. Yeah, I'm not trying to mess anybody over, that's for sure. But I don't also want to be taken advantage of. And I want to be done with all of this. You know what I'm saying? I don't want. Yeah. I like the guy. He's a great guy. Things didn't work out between him and his daughter. That's or myself and his daughter. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is sometimes.
All right, Mr. Radloff, I'm going to turn back to you. you sort of heard me and essentially what we're saying, just so you know, here's what I've already locked in. That $500 is owed to you joint and severally liable. In other words, Mr. Perez on the hook for that 500. Now, Mr. Perez could, if he wanted to, sue your daughter for that, for half of that. You know, that's up to him. But he's on the hook. Either one of them is on the hook for that 500. He's also readily admitting he owes you back $100 because that was just straight up for him for Crossbow. He's also saying he's willing to pay you fair use for that truck, although things didn't work out, and you know, he's not necessarily going to end up buying the truck. What do you mean the truck? Are you saying the truck doesn't work anymore?
No, the truck runs and everything. It's
okay.
The shifting mechanism doesn't light up anymore, so you don't know what gear it's in.
I want to make sure that you understand my logic in how essentially I'm having a hard time telling him that he's got to pay 1/3 of rent and utilities. When you were sort of letting them all just sort of get away with not paying you, there's a breakdown in the relationship. You're not going to go after the other two people because you still care about them and they're related to you. But this guy's just some guy now, so you're trying to sue him for 1/3 of the expense. He's telling me that as the victim of a domestic violence situation, he's paying cash money to the perpetrator of that domestic violence situation that's supposed to go to you, but it just isn't going to you. There's not a lot I feel comfortable doing with enforcing that against him. You understand that?
Well, I understand where you're coming from, Judge.
All right.
You know,
well,
I had rental units before, and I've got shafted on them. So I just, you know. That's
why I will say this, sir. I understand that what you're talking about, the old school thing. I'm a lawyer and I still do a lot of things that way. But let me tell you something. If you had a piece of paper right now, like you could, you know, as a landlord, like a lease, boom, he's done. He owes that money to you. That's a choice that you make. It's a choice that I make too. I get it. But a piece of paper is always going to win in court. Judge, you guys having a gentleman's agreement is way softer, squishier, you know what I'm saying?
Judge, you can look back when I had rental units. I took people to court and I won, but I never got any money out of it because they were, I rented to low people that were on welfare system.
Gentlemen, here's what I want to explain to you is at some point in time, what you guys need is a third party, me, to step in and say, boom, here's what I think should happen. What's important about what I'm about to say is I'm going to make a determination, a judgment for damages in this case. And then above and beyond damages, there's also something referred to by the courts, what they call costs. Mr. Para, what I mean by that is Mr. Radloff had to pay certain monies out of pocket to get us here today. He had to pay the filing fee to court and he had to pay to have you served. He had to pay $82 to do that. He's also able to recover those $82 above and beyond anything I award as damages. So essentially where I'm at, gentlemen, is that I am going to award $1,000 in damages. That is the 500, the 100, and 400 for essentially the deal that fell apart with the truck. Here's what I mean by essentially someone has to make a decision. Both of you, either of you would have a right to say, I don't agree with what just happened in there. Mr. Radloff, because you think you should have more than that ordered. Mr. Para, because you think you should have less than that ordered. Both of you would have a decision to make. You're either going to accept the number I just said and pay that money and have this case be over with, or one of you is going to say, no, I don't agree with that. I want to appeal this decision. To appeal my decision, you have to do two things. The first is you have to appeal it within 7 days of today's date. The window of opportunity closes. If you do nothing over the next 7 days, then what I just said is in fact the judgment in this case. And two, you must come in and do that in person because you actually have to do that in writing. All right. So my judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,000 in damages and $82 in costs. What I need to understand now is that you both are clear about your rights on appeal if you disagree with that decision. You both understand your rights on appeal?
I
I do.
agree with it. I'll take it, Judge. I'm fine. Let's just get it
If
over
you
with.
agree with that judgment, then the parties need to be in some sort of communication with each other where they're maintaining the civility. It sounds like you're both capable of that.
I don't really think that taking him to court was even this man's idea in the first place. I bet the person who was chirping in his ear earlier, that's whose idea it was. And I bet it was all out of spite more than anything.
And once that judgment is paid, then this case is satisfied and over. And if either one of you don't agree with what I just did, then you can appeal my finding. And then, like I said, that would be a decision that you have, Mr. Para, but you could always go after the other person who would also be responsible for paying back that $500 loan. Sounds like maybe you want to let sleeping dogs lie if there's also some criminal cases, or you can get in touch with the prosecutor's office. That could be considered restitution. I'm not sure. I don't want to give you legal advice about whether what the prosecutor's office told you they
Actually, that's called karma, Judge.
can or can't do as far as sentencing. But if both of you understand what just happened here, I'm going to go ahead and release parties. And gentlemen, you will get copies of this order sent out to you in the mail. All right.
Have a good day,
That's
sir.
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fine with me, Judge.
Okay. You're done.
Thank you.